Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Talk Your Tail Off podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa, and for today's episode, my guest is going to be my sister, Stephanie. Hey, Steph.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So today we're going to be talking about a lot of stories of either pet owners or family members of pet owners that have issues with their dogs or cats. So we're going to be reading those stories and giving our input on them.
Okay.
We also have another special guest. Maxwell, come here. For those listening and not watching, today's guest is little Maxwell. Max is my new little foster Pomeranian, aka new Pomeranian, because that foster failed real quick. Oh, and Max has some serious hair loss, which we are working on. And actually, he has grown back quite a bit of fur. You probably can't see that in the camera, but since I've started, and it's only been 2 weeks. So that's exciting. Now, before we jump into today's episode, I just want to encourage you all to join this community by hitting that subscribe button. And if you're looking for the pet grooming products that I know and love, they can be found on my website, growwiththedogs.com, and you can use code TALKTAIL for 10% off your first order. My products are also available on Amazon, so we have Nasty Critter deep cleaning shampoo and conditioner, as well as the mild cucumber spray. We also have Fluff Off de-shedding shampoo and conditioner with its blueberry bubblegum spray. And we have a new pair of nail clippers available for large and small dogs. And we have the shampoo nozzle. So all of those are also on Amazon USA and Amazon Canada. So let's dive into today's episode. Before we get started, we should talk a little bit about you, Steph.
Sure.
And for those listening, our voice probably sounds identical, so good luck deciphering between who is speaking.
Yeah, if you're not watching and listening only.
Yeah, you're probably going to think it's the same person talking twice. I assure you that it is not. But the good news is that if I ever lose my voice and I need voiceovers done, I can just ask my sister.
True.
The content will live on.
No problem.
So, Steph, I guess you should talk about who you are, what you do for a living, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Vanessa's older sister, 3 years older than her. I went to school to study French and Italian languages. I'm a language junkie. I love that stuff. So yes, I can do her voiceovers in multiple languages if she wants to. Happy to work for her. But yeah, I studied for 4 years in university. Then I went on to teachers college and I became a high school French teacher. And actually this coming September in about a week, I'll be teaching Italian for the first time ever in my career. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I guess that's it. I am a pet lover and pet enthusiast. I have my own little dog that Vanessa found for me. He was one of her clients, and when he was about 5 years old, I actually went through a personal tragedy in my own life. I lost one of my best friends suddenly. And when Vanessa found this dog for me, and his name is Diego, I kept his original name. He literally cured me from depression. Absolutely. So Diego's still with us. He's going on 12 and a half now. He's my only son. And he's quite spoiled. But yeah, one of the many Di-Profetta's dogs.
Yeah, it's a good story. I think I did a video on him and told a little bit about that story on YouTube as well. So I can link that in the description for you guys if you want to see Diego. He is the same age as Ace, and he looks a hell of a lot better than Ace.
Yeah.
So
he's been on a raw diet ever since I got him.
Yeah.
And he's in excellent condition. I've had zero problems with him in terms of vet issues. So very healthy dog, and I'm blessed to have him.
Actually, I also groom his brother, Charlie. And Charlie, if you compared Charlie and Diego, there really is no comparison. Charlie is overweight. He's had issues. He's had health problems. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he had a health issue where he was at the vet. If you look at his hair, it's much thinner than Diego's. He's just he looks like he's 12 and a half, put it that way. And Diego does not. And Charlie is on kibble and Diego is on a raw diet. And I really do think that diet obviously plays a huge role in that.
Charlie is the same litter, right?
Yeah, same litter as his brother.
Yeah, and every time people meet Diego for the first time and I tell them how old he is, they're always in shock.
Yeah.
Always.
Before we start with the first story, I want to talk a little bit about the viral video that's been going around on TikTok. I believe the creator's name is Ashley Izzle. I know her name is Ashley, but I think the TikTok name is Ashley Izzle. Hopefully, I remember that correctly. I don't have my phone in front of me to check. But for those of you who don't know, she had a Pomeranian named Nimbus. And when she went away, Nimbus was staying with her father. For some reason, she was showing her dad videos of coyotes jumping fences. And I'm going to assume she was doing this because he must live in a coyote area. So she was showing him, listen, they jump fences. You need to be outside with him whenever you let him out to pee, because if you're not, a coyote can jump the fence and get him, right? Unfortunately, that is exactly what happened. He did not watch the dog. He let the dog outside unattended with all the doors shut, and a coyote jumped the fence and killed the dog.
During the day or in the evening?
I don't know the specific details of the event. I'm going to say more likely evening, because that's when coyotes are active. Probably the last pee before bed, I would assume. And she is devastated about this, and she talked publicly about what happened. And obviously she's very disappointed in her father. And so let's talk a little bit about the dangers of coyotes. Obviously, I'm a Pomeranian lover, and I have, now I have 3 Pomeranians. And I have little dogs. So I have one dog that's 5 pounds, and the other 3 are under 5 pounds. I don't have to worry just about coyotes. I also have to worry about hawks. My dogs cannot ever go outside unattended without me there. And everybody that knows me knows this. If I leave my dogs in anybody's care, they also know this. It's just sad that you left your dog in the care of your father thinking that's the best place to keep your pet. Because a lot of people don't want to bring their pets to boarding kennels and stuff like that. And it turned out to not be the best thing. That gets just really, really, really sad. So just a PSA, if you have little dogs, even big dogs, but more so little dogs, because obviously a large dog can likely fend off a coyote. But if you have little dogs, you have to be outside with them all the time, watching over them. So now that we talked about that really sad story, let's get into the first story. And this story is titled, Am I the Asshole for Not Wanting Another Dog in My House?
Oh, is this written by my boyfriend?
Might as well be. Actually, this is not, but
He doesn't have time to write on Reddit, but
the title definitely sounds like it would be, but no. So it says, Hi, everyone. Sorry for the long backstory. We live in a pretty big apartment. We have plenty of room with a balcony for 2 dogs. My wife and I have a 2-year-old who, when she was 1, we got her a little chihuahua named Bowie. She loves the dog and can play with her because the dog is tiny. Now, apparently, Bowie has some sort of liver problems, and according to the vet, it can't be cured, and we don't know if he'll live 5 years or 5 months. He isn't suffering or anything. He seems fine and active throughout the day. The point is, my wife convinced me to bring another dog into the house with the excuse that it's a backup in case Bowie passes away, and she doesn't want my daughter to be upset. After some debate, I didn't even want 1 dog, imagine 2, I accepted with the condition that she will take care of him and everything that he does, pooping and peeing in the house, vet, food, taking him out, etc. Etc. I always say that wrong. And then I get comments about it. By the way, we also have a lady that comes every day to help with my wife with cleaning and helps in general with household chores. She also helps with the dogs. The dog that we bought is about 6 months, castrated, big, and is going to get bigger. My daughter doesn't really give him any attention because he's too big. And when he wants to play, obviously, it's just a little bit, not aggressive, but rambunctious is the right word. He put aggressive here, but that's not the right word. Bowie has a pad that he poops and pees on in small doses since he's a Chihuahua and they're small. There's no problem with that, and he learned pretty quick. On the other hand, the big dog is already 2 or 3 months with us. My wife does not take him out often. The lady that comes only takes him out once a day. The rest of the day, he either poops or pees inside or on the balcony, pees all over the house, in the corridor, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, and he doesn't learn no matter what we do. In conclusion, since the dog arrived, the whole house smells like a zoo. Of shit and piss, no matter what you do, you cannot clean the smell. I want him out. I told my wife it's either me or the damn dog. She doesn't even care about him. She doesn't even give him attention at all. He just exists in the house and it pisses me off. Am I the asshole?
Well, I mean, from that perspective, if that's actually all true, if she originally agreed to take care of it and she doesn't, then yes, he's not an a-hole. He's, I think, legitimate in his concerns. He didn't really specify what kind of a dog this is or how, he just said it's a big dog.
Obviously, when we read these stories, they're always one-sided.
Yeah, so it's hard to get.
It is. The one part I didn't like about his story, he says, and he doesn't learn no matter what we do. I don't believe that.
Yeah, come on.
I don't believe that. The dog is not trained. Obviously, there's been no training put in. The dog should not be pooping and peeing in the house. Accidents do happen when you have a pup, and you have to learn how to work with them and how to teach them, but it has nothing to do with that. Nobody's putting any effort into the dog. Personally, I think this dog should be rehomed because it seems to have a very sad life.
Yeah, I agree. If you're not willing to, give it the attention it deserves and needs, a Chihuahua's a lot more manageable. So I get his perspective in that. And I'm not sure why she decided to get a dog that's so much different.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, if you really enjoyed the Chihuahua and it was good for your lifestyle, why did you go to something so different?
It doesn't make any sense. Why didn't you just get a tiny dog?
Yeah, because 2 tiny dogs, it seems like he lives in a condo, an apartment,
Yeah.
is much more manageable.
Yeah, well, you're not the asshole. I don't see any
No.
updates here about this story. He did not respond to any comments that I see. I hope that they rehomed the dog. But yeah,
Hope so.
I'm going to go on to the next story because that one is pretty obvious that you're not the asshole, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Okay, the next one is titled How to Deal with Family That Doesn't Like Dogs. My husband and I have a well-behaved but friendly dog who loves all people. We have family in the area that visit often but are not animal people, to the point that they are bothered by normal dog behaviors, for example, sniffing legs when they enter the house, lying at their feet during dinner. A very recent conversation revealed just how bothersome this is to them. With the holidays coming, we want to host at our home. While we can and probably will put the dog away in a room for this one event, this is not a long-term solution. I know it's unfair to tell them to just deal with it, something that makes them uncomfortable. I just can't seem to understand the perspective of not liking animals. And because it's family we see all the time, I think I am too close to the situation. Are you not an animal person? What solutions have worked to make everyone comfortable? Thanks. Okay.
Well, I can't answer from not being an animal person.
We can't answer from not being animal people, but I've definitely dealt with people who are not animal people that come to my home.
Yes.
And typically, I would just put my dogs away. Like our grandfather who passed away, he was not an animal person.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't just let the dogs run up to him and sniff him and lay at his feet while we were eating. I mean, he got used to it.
He did.
Eventually, because we all got dogs, and so he could not escape them. He couldn't go to a family member's house without a dog being there.
Literally.
So he got over it. But typically, I would just put my dogs away.
Yeah.
Like-
and for him, for, older in general or people who are not dog people, like large dogs, that's in general going to be more difficult. But for our no, he got used to it because they were all small dogs.
Yeah.
And I think the one he was around probably the most often might have been Diego, who's extremely docile and made it easy. But yeah, out of my closest friends, I would say 2 of them for sure are not dog people. And they don't like exactly what he or she is describing, like the dog being around and licking their legs and all that. And some people just don't like that, and I get that. But
So what would you do?
well, listen, this is your family. If you want to have your family in your life, I'm not going to say, with the previous one, for example, with the guy saying the dog or me. Like, this is not one of those situations where it's like the dog or me. And you said, you're willing to possibly put the dog away. So it's what you're willing to sacrifice and what's important to you. If you want your family coming over and you want to be able to host and see them in that kind of capacity, then you have to be respectful of the fact that they're not huge dog people. Put the dog away.
I agree. I think that for the amount of times that you have family or friends over that don't like your dog is probably not very often.
Right.
So if your dog is out with you all the time and then when you have them over at holidays, you put the dog away, I don't think that's the end of the world.
No.
I would make that sacrifice for somebody if they were really bothered by my dog.
Yeah, I agree with that.
However, if it's a family member that's coming over all the time,
Then yeah.
then they're going to have to learn to live with my dog.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're coming over once a week, for dinner or just to hang out and they're like, oh, I'm not interested in being around the dog, well, then simply don't come over. Like that's how I see it.
Yeah, it is too bad that that's the case, but your dog lives with you. Your dog is your immediate family member. That's your home unit, so.
But I guess, okay, what about this situation? Obviously we love dogs here, but okay, think of it this way. What if somebody doesn't like kids and you have kids?
Yeah.
You're not going to put your kids away.
No. No. And that's what gets us, that's what causes unfortunate, friendships and families to drift apart because of things like that, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So it sucks, but what's the most important to you? Who or what do you love the most, I guess, and are you willing to make those sacrifices because it's all about compromise when it comes to relationships, but then also, with family, it's compromise. If you want to have that family in your life, then you might have to compromise.
Another solution, if you don't want to lock your dog up in another room or in a crate, would be to train your dog to lay in one spot. So have like a bed out for your dog and then tell them place. That's the word that we use for Lupa. And that dog has to lay there the whole time.
Right. Yeah, Diego has a spot. Go to your spot.
And then that way, yeah, they're not bothering anybody. So if your family now complains that they don't like the sight of your dog, well, then that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay, on to the next story. This is a really long one, and I'm probably going to make several mistakes reading it. And it's titled, I Hate My Girlfriend's Dog. Hey guys, I've changed and left out some details vague since my girlfriend uses Reddit and I don't want her to know that this is about her. Now on to the story. My partner has 2 dogs, a purebred that was gifted to her and a large mixed breed that she rescued. She already had these dogs when we met, and I noticed that she was not very a good owner. But I did not comment on it at first because she wasn't abusive or anything, just kind of neglectful in my opinion. And since I have never had dogs, I wasn't sure if I was making it a bigger deal than it was. As time passed and I started spending more time with her at her house, I really saw how little attention she paid to the dogs. She almost never walked them, perhaps 1 or 2 times a week for about 15 minutes or so. She didn't play or interact with them most days except for when she fed them at the morning and at noon, which, by the way, she forgot to do at least a few times a month. She cleaned after them only a couple times a week, so their space was constantly dirty, since they were not trained to do their business in one place. All in all, they were treated as furniture in the yard, but again, since they were well fed mostly, and to her credit, taken to the vet periodically, I limited myself to good-humored comments about how the dogs were like garden decor. Aside from the dog thing, my girlfriend is an amazing person. She is intelligent, hardworking, kind and funny, and we get along amazingly well. About a half year into our relationship, we decided to move in together. At this point, I did bring up that I was concerned about the lack of care of the dog's needs that I had witnessed, but she assured me she would work on it. Despite my insistence on preparing for the move ahead of time, she left everything to the last second and had to empty her house in a rush, with only a couple of days to spare, with 2 restless dogs making the job even more difficult than it already was. Thankfully, her parents offered to take the purebred dog at their house while we moved, but not the rescue, since it did not get along with the other pets. So at first, when we moved, we only took the mixed one with us. They ended up getting kind of attached to the purebred dog and told us that they would help take care of it for a bit longer until we settled into our new home. At first, the rescue dog was very hard to take care of, since it had basically no training and had been neglected for so long. But with a lot of research and patience from my part, it became a pretty amazing dog. He is now trained to go potty in one place, knows some basic commands, and I even taught him a couple of tricks. It's important to note at this point that since I work from home on a pretty flexible schedule, and my girlfriend is a healthcare worker with long work hours, we agreed that I would take care of most of the housework and she would contribute a larger percentage financially. Everything was fine for almost a year until, unbeknownst to me, my in-laws decided that they had had enough of the fancy dog and gave my girlfriend a deadline to go pick it up. A deadline which she, of course, missed several times, irritating her parents so much that one day they simply showed up at her house and dropped the dog off. Now, as a disclaimer, my girlfriend was diagnosed with ADHD, but she never got treatment from it. She never got treatment for it because her parents didn't believe in mental illness in children. However, she hasn't sought treatment for herself now that she's an adult either, and while she has not been opposed to the idea of seeing a psychiatrist when I have suggested it, she has never followed through with it and gives a million excuses as to how she can't right now, even when I offered to help set up an appointment for her. That sounds like ADHD right there.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Anyways, the dog is a complete nightmare, to me at least. It pisses and shits all over the yard several times a day, which I have to clean up since my girlfriend doesn't. And when she does such a bad job that I have to do it again anyway. It whines and barks constantly, making the most irritating sounds I have ever listened to, and it truly makes my blood boil when I hear him. It drools all over the yard, all over our furniture, all over myself, and all over the other dog, and I find it absolutely revolting. It is part of such an inbred abomination of a breed that it snores so loudly that I can't sleep without earplugs, even though it's outside. He also gets extremely winded from short walks, and since my girlfriend refuses to walk them separately, when she has had enough of our poor, large, energetic dog, has to be done too, even if it needs more exercise. Okay, that was kind of written weird, but I'm assuming what they're trying to say is that because the other dog can't walk for very long, the one that needs more of a walk also gets a short walk.
Right. And the one that he's complaining about with the drooling and the snoring, that's the purebred?
Yeah, it's definitely a bulldog.
I was going to say, it's probably a French bulldog.
Or a boxer. Because
Could be.
bulldogs don't really drool. Like, I've groomed a lot of bulldogs and they don't really drool. So that's what makes me think that it's a boxer or a mastiff of some kind.
Wow.
Like something that drools. Like French bulldogs and English bulldogs, I've never really witnessed them drool.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I mean, I only groom them. I've never owned one, so I don't know if they do drool. French bulldogs, I don't think drool, though. I have tried to train this dog, but it's so dumb that it doesn't get it. And honestly, I don't have it in me to keep trying. Our other dog recently got diagnosed with a chronic, but thankfully not fatal illness, and it needs meds, which are very expensive. So a trainer for the other dog is out of the question for now. I despise this dog. I truly, truly hate it. We had such a good life without it. We had worked so hard on our mental health issues, and though imperfect, we worked together and had a good relationship all in all. I know I'm not an easy person to be with. I have OCD. When listening to this, I felt like he had OCD. And anxiety, and I know I can be too much sometimes. But we complement each other, and I felt happy and content for once. And now it's all ruined because of this damn dog. Now, guys, I know it's not the dog's fault. I know the responsibility is on my girlfriend and mine's shoulders, but I honestly don't want to break up. I have talked to her, pleaded to her to take care of it, but she simply has no time and I simply have no patience left. I am so overwhelmed and done. I have intrusive thoughts of hurting the dog. I fantasize of the day that it finally dies or runs away or gets stolen. My psychiatrist says that we should rehome it since she feels it's not safe staying in my care. But my girlfriend is absolutely unwilling to part with it. And I understand he was there first, but I just can't do this anymore. Just wanted to get this off my chest. If you read this all the way through, thank you for taking the time. So this isn't an advice column. This is just a venting column. He just wanted to vent about it.
Yeah.
So I take back saying that it's a boxer because boxers are high energy and will go for long walks. So it's not a boxer. It's got to be some type of a mastiff. It could be a pug, but pugs really don't drool either. Something like as soon as he mentioned drooling, the only thing I could think of is that it was a mastiff of some kind.
But mastiffs wouldn't require a lot of energy.
They wouldn't want to do much physical activity.
No.
A mastiff, no. But the reason why I thought it was a boxer is because as soon as he mentioned the annoying whining noises, I had a boxer, and that was one thing about him that drove me mental. His whining when he wanted something was...
And they're not the smartest, right?
They're not the smartest, yeah. I wouldn't say he was dumb, but he wasn't the smartest. He wasn't like my shepherd.
Compared to what we've had and what we used to, yeah.
But I take it back. It's not a boxer. It's got to be a mastiff. Or a bulldog. I just never seen a bulldog drool.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough situation because, like he said near the end, the dogs were there first. But it's true, because it's too bad that during that period of time when they had just the one dog, everything was good. So yes, having this additional dog, she wasn't, really in a rush to get it back from her parents. Clearly they had a decent life when it was just the one.
Mm-hmm.
But so bringing back the second one has made it unlivable for him, obviously. But I don't know, man. If you're in love with your girlfriend, you want to be with her, dog's not going to last that long.
Yeah, a dog is temporary,
Yeah.
not permanent. But also, as I'm reading this, the dog really doesn't sound that bad. He doesn't say that the dog poops and pees in the house. He said it poops and pees all over the yard.
And then it falls to his responsibility.
And he has to pick up the poop.
So yeah, he's being a little...
That's why when he said he had OCD, I was like,
Yeah, so
that
that bothers
makes
you.
sense.
And you didn't grow up with dogs. So you don't know what it's like, and it's taking you longer to get adjusted to it.
Yeah, and that's really the only thing, other than that, and he makes annoying noises that he doesn't like.
It's a dog.
It snores so, he's not saying the dog destroys the house, the dog poops and pees in the house, it has separation anxiety, we can't leave. He's not saying anything in this post that makes it seem like the dog is that horrific.
Yeah.
Just that it poops and pees all over the yard, and which is what dogs do.
Right.
I don't know, my dogs poop. I have not taught my dogs to poop and pee in one spot. Would that be convenient? Sure. Is it the end of the world that we walk around the yard to pick up dog poop? I don't think so. So I think that he's a bit much, personally. And so, yeah, I think personally you just need to deal with this until the dog passes away.
Yeah.
But the part where he said he has intrusive thoughts of hurting the dog, that's a problem.
Yeah, and that does make it unsafe. That's no good.
If I read
she's
this,
not around, he works from home and she's not around, that's a little scary.
If I read this and this was my partner that wrote this, I think I'd break up with my partner. I would. Because if my partner wrote that he was thinking of hurting my dog, that would be it for me. I love my animals way too much. If my partner even lent a freaking hand on one of them, they would be gone. They would no longer exist in my life. So I understand his point of view. The only suggestion I think I would put is explain to your girlfriend how much this is bothering you, and maybe ask that the dog goes to a daycare during the day while you're at work, so that it's not his responsibility to take care of the dog when she's working. I think that would be helpful. There's definitely things here that can be done to make this easier for both of them, but I don't think rehoming the dog is fair to your girlfriend, personally.
No.
And I wonder why the parents all of a sudden decided they didn't want the dog anymore.
Maybe they couldn't sleep.
I'm going to take this back and say that this is a bulldog. I know I said that they don't, when I groom bulldogs, they don't drool, but I could see them drooling after they eat or drink because they do have jowls. I'm going to take this back and say this is a bulldog. I don't think it's a French bulldog, but I do think it's a bulldog, like an English bulldog or something. Anyway.
Good luck, man. Well, let's hope for the best.
This is also a long one. The title is, My Boyfriend is a Terrible Pet Owner, and It's Making Me Rethink Our Relationship.
Oh my.
To start off, I'm 20 and he's 27. We've been dating for almost 2 years and have lived together for the majority of our relationship, meaning that I've seen how he interacts with his pets for quite some time. He has a dog and a bearded dragon. He's okay with his dog. He's very loving and whatnot. The only problem I have is with his actions towards his bearded dragon.
That's a lizard.
Yes. To preface this, I'm terrified of reptiles. I always have been, and I don't know the reason why. They just terrify me, and he knew this before he brought his bearded dragon to live with us. Despite this, I'm her primary caregiver. I give her all of her baths, even though it takes about an hour to hype myself up enough to be able to pick her up and put her in the sink. I'm the one who makes sure she's drinking and eating right, including making sure she's getting the right amount of veggies and proteins after researching her diet. I'm the one who cleans out her cage. I do all of this despite being terrified of her to the point where I've thrown up touching her. I don't know how someone who's terrified of reptiles would possibly be able to do all of that for a reptile.
And I had no idea that you had to do all those things for a reptile.
Well, we had 2 bearded dragons, me and Julian.
Yeah, probably once I left the house.
Yeah, Julian's our brother. He did most of the work with them because when they poop, it reeks. When I say reeks, I mean the entire house stunk. And we lived in a 3,600 square foot home, and you could smell the poop from the basement.
Yeah, I did not live there at that point.
That-
No way.
That seriously turned me off from bearded dragons. I don't know why. I just found that incredibly gross. Anyway, he should not have her at all. I've seen people take better care of plants than he takes care of his bearded dragon. Before he lived with me, he lived with his mother, and she took care of his beardy. He refused to get her a new substrate. I don't know what that is, even though he hasn't changed it since he got her 7 years ago.
Something in the terrarium.
I feel like it's like a water filter. She is still living in the cage he got her when she was a baby. I keep telling him that she is stressed out and needs a bigger cage. She glass surfs constantly and claws at her cage all the time. I've shown him articles about signs of stress in beardies, and he literally said it's not real. All she has in her cage is one branch to sit on, nothing else. I brought a hammock for her, and he said it was an unnecessary purchase. I brought her a kit so we could make her some burrowing holes and caverns, and he said it was a waste of money. How is somebody who's terrified of reptiles doing all of this for the reptile?
It's very strange.
Well, it's not strange, but it's almost like maybe this is helpful to get you over your fear. I don't know.
Yeah.
Recently, she's been constipated very, very bad. I was the one who noticed. I was the one who researched foods that would help her. I was the one who made sure she was drinking enough water to help soften her poop. Today, I noticed she was finally trying to poop. Since he was home, I asked him if he could pick her up and put her in the sink. I think it helps them poop if you put them in water. That's why she asked him to do that. I think I remember that because Julian used to have to do that with the snakes to help them poop. Sometimes if they were constipated, he'd have to put them in a bath.
Oh my goodness.
They're a lot of work.
I had no idea.
I had already ran and checked the temperature of the water and made sure she had a place to sit in the sink. All he had to do was put her in the water. I was going to sit with her and watch her and do everything else. All he had to do was pick her up. He yelled at me and said, "Why can't you do it yourself?" He said my fear of her was irrational. He said he was fine even though she was breathing very, very heavily and clearly needed some assistance. He said he never had any time to himself to watch TV or eat. He said he didn't want to do it because he had just gotten off a full shift and was exhausted. All I was asking him to do was to put her in the water. It was the one thing that would have really helped me out. I started crying and he said it was dumb to cry. I said I was sad because she lives a bad life and is very, very stressed out, and he said I was being dumb. He said if I wanted her to have a bigger cage, I could go buy one myself. Except in the past, I asked to save up for one and he said no. He would rather spend his money on weed than buying his pet a better living space. Then he said he was a bad pet owner because he's depressed. I'm just so frustrated at him. He shouldn't have gotten her in the first place, and she deserves a better life. I wish I could just put an ad on Facebook or something and give her away without him getting upset. This makes me not want to have kids with him or anything else. It's making me a lot less attracted to him.
Well,
The top comment, your boyfriend is a selfish ass.
Yeah.
Make him your ex.
yeah.
And the next comment, and take the dog.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If this is true, if she's being truthful with how he's acting and responding, then yeah, first of all, get rid of him.
What it sounds like to me is that he is unaware of what his bearded dragon's care should look like.
Yeah.
So he just thinks that she's being dramatic.
Yeah.
Because he thinks taking care of the bearded dragon is a lot more simple than that. That's what the gist I'm getting of it.
Me too. You have to know those things. And for example, we don't know if this guy's owned reptiles before, but I had no idea that a reptile requires that much care. But it's funny when she said, I don't know about marrying him and having kids with him. I was like, I knew that was going to come out because based on how she's explaining how he's neglectful, who wants to have a kid with someone like that?
Yeah, I think they should break up.
Yeah.
Personally. That would be a huge red flag for me if my partner had a pet that he chose to get and did not take care of it.
Yeah.
That would really, really bother me.
Yeah. And it does show what he could possibly become in fatherhood.
Yeah, like John and I got a dog together, and he takes care of that dog every single day. He feeds her, he takes her for walks, like buys her new stuff, like really put a ton of work into her training. If I didn't see that from him when we got the dog, it would have been a red flag for me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, props to her for being terrified of reptiles and still doing all of this.
Yeah, I can't believe how you can do that.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm terrified of snakes, but I definitely would never own a snake because I wouldn't want to have to handle it all the time because they
Right.
kind of creep me out a little bit.
Me too.
Like I could still hold one for like a few seconds,
Yeah.
but that's it. Like I'm good after. You can take it. You can take it. But I think if Julian, for example, now Julian was meticulous with his reptiles, but let's say he wasn't, I probably would put in the effort to take care of that animal if I knew that my brother was
Right.
neglecting it,
Wasn't,
even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the reptile.
Yeah.
But another option, actually what you should do, and maybe this is wrong, but this is just my opinion, is sell that bearded dragon and then break up with him. Bye. At least you know the bearded dragon has better care once you leave.
Even worse, right?
He's going to be really mad at you, but he's not.
She's like,
taking care of
putting
it.
it on Marketplace and just like giving it away. It's like, oh, you're doing that and breaking up with
You
him.
should do both.
Well, good luck.
Okay, the next story. Am I the asshole for getting a dog without telling my husband? I kind of did this. Kind of.
I've learned now that I have like a long-term committed relationship that yeah, you have to have these discussions before you do something like that. It's unfortunate and I wish I could avoid it. And you can risk it, but it might really backfire. So let's see.
Now, the first time I did this, I can't say that I didn't tell my partner because I did tell my partner that I was getting a dog before I got one. He just didn't approve, and I just said I don't care and got one anyways. And that would be Gidget, and I ended up getting rid of the partner and kept Gidget, so
Yeah.
it was great.
And Gidget's fantastic.
Yeah, Gidget's the best dog ever. So that was fine. But the second time I did it was with Maxwell right now. However, I do want to preface this to say that on my second date with my current partner, I told him, I love animals. I want lots of animals. I do not want to have an argument with you if I want to bring home a new animal. As long as I am taking care of it, feeding it, bringing it to the vet, doing all of its work, and not asking you to do the work, you are not allowed to have an opinion about whether or not I bring home another animal because that's just my boundary. That's just my thing. Like I value and love animals so much that I can't be in a relationship with somebody who tells me I can't have one if I want one or more or 5 or 10. Like so I made that very, very clear on our second date. So we can't really turn around and say, well, you need your partner's permission now. It's like, no, I made that clear.
Right.
I made that clear. You chose to date me knowing that that's how I am. So, but he loves Maxwell and he did not have a problem with him. So it's fine.
And he doesn't take care of Maxwell.
No, I take care of Maxwell. I do not. Once in a blue moon, if I'm out for more than 4 hours and I want them to be let out, I will ask him, can you let the dogs out? But that's the extent of the care that he has to give to my little dogs. The only dog that we share care of is Lupa, and that's because we both wanted a German Shepherd. Anyway, enough about me. I'll read the story. This past weekend, some of my friends and I went shopping and stopped by this pet store in this, I can't say that word.
Dilapidated.
Dilapidated. What the hell does that mean?
Falling apart.
Okay. Strip mall. It was big, but they had a lot of going out of business signs. There were puppies there, and the store manager said that a few of the dogs would be destroyed when they eventually leave for a multitude of reasons.
Destroyed?
I'm assuming like put down?
Euthanized?
Euthanized, that's the right word. It was probably a combination of the mimosas that we had earlier and the cuteness of the puppies, but I ultimately agreed to buy one of the dogs because I couldn't stand the thought of it being put down. When my husband got home later that night, he was furious that I had spent so much money on a new puppy without telling him. He told me I was probably duped by that store, and I don't disagree, but I also believe I did the right thing bringing that puppy away from that horrid place. He is mad that I did this without asking him, and I did apologize, but I feel like he should cut me some slack. I only acted out of compassion and was just a bit overwhelmed by what that manager was telling me. And besides, getting a cute puppy is hardly the worst thing to happen to anyone. I feel like my husband is overreacting and going overboard with making me feel bad now. So was I or am I the asshole for getting that puppy? What do you think the majority of people said?
I'm going to say the majority of people said that no, she wasn't.
Oh, you're wrong.
I'm wrong?
Yeah. Asshole. Voted asshole. The top comment, you're the asshole. Puppies are a big responsibility
They are.
for the household, and you treated his input as worthless on the matter for no reason.
Wow. I thought more people would be compassionate about the fact that they were going to be euthanized. But when it's funny how she mentions the mimosas, like, yeah, that's definitely going to loosen you up, make bad decisions. But yeah, no, it's true. Like what we just said and what you just explained of the differences, right? You made it very clear to your partner on the second date. So he knew, like, you're an animal lover. It's going to happen. There will be animals as a revolving door in your life. So he was aware of it. So yes, this situation is different. They're a married couple. When you're a married couple, you should be, what's the word? Like on the same playing field, like on the same page about everything.
Well, everything should be discussed.
That's what I mean. Like, yes, you don't know in advance what someone's going to do or whatever. But what I'm trying to say is, like, if that's your lifestyle and you're going to throw a wrench in it, like getting a puppy, because that's not, when she says, like, it's not a big deal. Well, no, it is. Getting a puppy is a huge deal. It's a big commitment. I'm an animal person, and I personally don't want a puppy because puppies are too much work. Like we talk about, Diego's getting older. We talk about getting another dog. We want to rescue. We do not want to have a puppy stage because it's too much work. Especially what I saw you go through with Lupa. Like, oh my God, it's a lot. So I do understand her husband's perspective. And because, you guys had a lifestyle without animals. Now all of a sudden you do. And why? Because it's true. You felt bad for the dog and you were a little tipsy. Like that's not a reason to make a decision for a really long period of time like that.
I think what would be more reasonable is if she told her husband, I got this dog, but I'm going to rehome it. I just wanted to take it out of this bad environment, but I'm going to find it a home. We're not keeping it.
Right.
Because then you are saving the dog like you wanted to.
Right.
And your husband doesn't have to be upset that he now has this, 15-year commitment. I think that would have made more sense.
Yeah, her approach to it.
And yeah, you should have just called him and said, this is the situation. And if the thing is, she didn't call him because she knew he was going to say no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you know he's going to say no, like it's hard. That's why when I went through this in my first relationship, where if I brought a new pet home, my partner was very angry with me and we would get into huge fights about it. I learned that in my next relationship, I have to make this very clear from the beginning that this is who I am and I'm not changing it. And you have to either be okay with it, or if you're not, you have to not even date me.
Correct.
Very, very clear. And you learn that with age and as you date.
Oh, yeah.
You learn those things that, like, what are your non-negotiables? That was a non-negotiable for me. So unfortunately, I also agree that you are the asshole.
Yeah, it's too bad. I didn't want to use that word because, like, I coming in from a part of, like, compassion, you want to save this dog. Like, I don't think you're an asshole. Do I think, unfortunately, you made the wrong decision and you are in the wrong if you're looking at the two perspectives? Yeah, you are. I don't think you're an asshole because you're trying to save a puppy, but still.
No. I also think that this story is a lie, personally. I don't think she's telling the truth. I don't think that the store owner said that if these puppies don't sell, we're gonna put them down. I think that she just made this up to make it seem like it was okay that she came home with this puppy. That's my personal opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right.
It could be. The other thing could be that the store owner made it up so that he could get rid of the puppies too.
Yeah, you could just bring them to the Humane Society though, or something. Like,
True.
why do you have to put them down? I just feel as though this was a made up story on her end to make her husband not as upset that she brought home a puppy, personally. But anyways, yeah, you're the asshole.
Yeah, it's too bad.
And if you want pets and you don't want to ask permission, either live alone or find a partner that has agreed to deal with that, like me.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next story this is a question. Partner too harsh on puppy? ?
Oh.
And this is under dog advice. Husband and I are looking after a friend's puppy for a couple of weeks. I'm looking for advice from more experience than us, more dog people that are like more experienced than us,
Right.
because we've never had a dog. She's 12-week-old and hasn't been exposed to the outdoors much. For example, cars, bright lights, and all that. We took her on a 10 to 15 minute walk this evening to get her familiar with the outside, and she was anxious and whining the entire time. I wanted to bring her back sooner, but my husband said to keep her out a bit longer to get used to it. Once we arrived back outside the house, she was clearly a bit anxious, whining, and a little eager to get in. I thought we would just let her back in, but my husband said we should keep her out until all the whining stops, and then she can be let back in when they're fully calmed down so that they don't associate the walk with negativity. This sounded like bullshit to me, and I just wanted to get her inside. But he made her wait a couple minutes until the whining subsided a little. I felt bad as it was cold, 11 Celsius, and she was tired. 11 Celsius is not cold. She was still a little anxious and shaking for a couple of minutes inside, but then she was fine. My point is that it made no difference waiting for her to calm down at the door, and she was still anxious when we got in. I think my husband's approach is mean and bullshit. Any advice would be appreciated.
It makes me think of like parent advice, like when you become a new parent and they're like, just let the baby cry. That's what it makes me think of. And like some parents are like, no, I'm not letting the baby cry.
I don't think his approach was mean or bullshit in any way. I think it was like if he hit the dog or yelled at the dog or whatever, then I would be like, okay, you know.
That's abusive.
Yeah. But just because he let the dog stay outside until it stopped whining before bringing him in, I think that that is very minor, and I'm a little bit concerned. If you ever get a dog of your own or children, I don't know if you have kids already because this doesn't say, that you're going to just give in to whatever it is that they need.
Yeah. Like there has to be a strong authority figure that has to keep them in line. And kids and dogs.
11 degrees Celsius is, I think there's a comment here that says 50-degree weather. That's like a crisp fall day. Yeah, 11 degrees is not cold.
No. Maybe for, Southerners who live in hot weather all the time, but
not for a dog.
Not for a dog and not for up here, like for what we're used to up here in Canada, 11 degrees. My favorite is like 15.
Yeah.
Ugh, I love 15.
But even 11, like going for a nice walk when it's 11 degrees outside is like heaven.
Yeah, with a light sweater weather is the best.
Yeah.
So dogs are permanently in sweaters.
Yeah, I'm really excited for fall. P.S. It's my favorite time of year. Absolute favorite.
I hope it's not because of pumpkin spice lattes.
No, it's because I love the colors and I love the weather and I love being able to take my dog for a walk with a sweater on and not having to die of heat and also not having to put on damn snow pants because it's so cold. It's the perfect time to be outdoors.
Right. When you have to go see Diego, I don't need to take him for long winter walks. But you're right. I remember with the Rotties, you would literally have to wear snow pants to go outside.
Yeah. That's my life in the wintertime. I mean, we don't get as much snow as we used to, but I do have to bundle up like everything. And then it's annoying when like somebody calls you and you have to like take your whatchamacallit, gloves off to answer the phone. And sure, they have those gloves where you can touch the screen, but those gloves are not thick enough when it's freezing outside. So you can't wear them when it's freezing outside. It's a pain in the ass.
It is.
Yeah. So I think that your husband is not too harsh. I think that you are someone that has never had a dog. So you just simply don't know how that works. And that's totally fine. You learn as you go, but unfortunately this is not your dog. So.
Yeah, she's being soft.
She's being too soft. That's the right word.
Exactly. Nowadays with kids and dogs, you gotta be tough, man. Softness doesn't get you anywhere.
Like, I mean, every dog is different, and some dogs respond great to positive reinforcement, and some dogs need correction. They're all different. So there's no one training method that fits all, personally. Okay. This one is somebody asking for help in dog training. And it said, my husband and I keep disagreeing on how to train our puppy. He won't stop swatting her. Okay. Isabel is a 12-week-old Australian Shepherd. We got her a little over 7 weeks old. She's our first puppy, and we have radically different ideas about how to raise her. My husband is all about physical punishment. When she has an accident, he will swat her hard and has been doing this since we got her because he says that it's the best way to potty train a puppy. I completely disagree, and I hate that he is hurting her. When he doesn't catch her in the act and only sees it afterwards, he will grab her collar, pull her over to the mess while she's crying in fear and pain, and swat her and yell "no, bad" at her. She is now taken to eating her poop if she goes inside, and I honestly think it's because she is afraid of him seeing it, and it makes me so sad. I yell at him to stop when he is doing this, but he won't listen. I have also had several calm discussions with him that are not in the heat of the moment, and he is dead set in his ways regarding this. I want to take her to puppy classes, and he says that he knows exactly what he is doing and doesn't need help from anyone else. He loves her, he is just set in his ways because this is how his dad trained his dog growing up, and apparently she was extremely well trained and well mannered. I hate what's going on. I wish there was some way I can get my husband to come around to a way to train a puppy that does not involve pain, intimidation, and fear. He has it in his mind that he needs to be the pack leader, and I want him to be her dad slash best friend. I feel that not only is my husband's training method detrimental to Isabella's well being, but the inconsistency between us in dealing with her is making it worse. I don't know what else to do. I have talked to coworkers and friends, and the majority of them see no problem with how my husband is training our puppy. And they say that I have done the same, and they say they have done the same things with their dogs because that's how you get them to learn. So here I am on Reddit. What I do agree with is if the animal goes to the bathroom in the house, you give them a stern no, bad dog, and then bring them outside. That's how you teach them.
That's how you correct them, yeah.
Verbal, you can use a verbal, and your dog knows based on how you're saying something if you're upset or if
the
you're
tone.
encouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you give them a no in a bad, tone or an upset tone. Bring them outside, and then when they pee outside, you give them a good dog, like in that happy tone, so they know, like, okay, now my owner's happy,
Yeah.
right? So I don't agree with the swatting. I don't. I think that if she's upset about the swatting, I understand that, but I also think that she is a bit soft in the way that she wants to use. Like, how else would you train your dog not to go to the bathroom in the house? Like, every time it goes to the bathroom in the house, just pick it up and bring it outside?
That's not going to teach him anything.
Like, maybe for some dogs it will. I don't know. I've never done it. I always give them a stern no and then bring them outside.
What about the whole, like, bringing their face to the pee or the poo and showing them, like, no, and then bring them outside?
I think you can bring them to the accident and show
Yeah.
them. A lot of people put their faces in it, though. That I don't agree with.
No,
That's disgusting. That's very unsanitary. Not good for your dog. I wouldn't do that. But I definitely would pick my puppy up, bring it to the mess, and tell it no.
That's what I mean, like acknowledging this is what I'm saying no for.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that that's completely fine. And the puppies are going to yelp and cry when you do that because they know they did something wrong and they are upset that you're upset.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that they're in pain, and that doesn't mean that you are, hurting the dog in any way. You're just teaching the dog right from wrong. It's the swatting that needs to stop.
Yeah, there's no need for that.
No. The part that I don't like about this is that she's asked to take the dog to training and he says no. That I don't like.
I didn't like that either. When you're being the whole, it's my way or the highway, I know
Yeah.
what I'm doing. Like, no, if there's nothing wrong with dog training. There's
No.
nothing, there's no negative to it. Yes, it's a cost, but there's no negative to bringing a dog to a dog training class.
Yeah, that part bothered me because exactly, my way or the highway. And you know what?
That attitude.
At the same time, if you go to a dog trainer and you explain to the dog trainer what you're doing when the dog goes to the bathroom in the house, the dog trainer might say to you, okay, you're 50% right. Yes, you should tell them no in a upset tone and then bring them outside. But no, you should not be laying your hands on them. That is not acceptable. So then maybe he would learn, okay, and she would learn too, like, okay, so the bad tone is okay. The no bad is okay.
Of course that's okay. And she stated that he's learned these methods from his father, which means that there are obviously old school methods.
Yeah.
So going to a current dog trainer or a class, you could, get some more insight of what's, currently acceptable. What is wrong with that?
All of the comments are upset about the hitting.
Of course.
And being abusive.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's it for our stories. So thanks, Steph, for being a guest today.
My pleasure. It was fun.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add to this story?
Um,
Come here, I'm not Melvin. Ugh, come here, Maxwell.
Maxwell. Can't keep track of all the dogs.
Ugh, they sound the same. I hate that his name is Max. Come here, Maxwell.
I guess, after all these stories, having pets is a big responsibility, but they bring so much joy to your life. And, my boyfriend and I don't have any kids yet. I really hope he'll consider getting another dog soon.
I heard yet. I thought you didn't want kids.
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Oh man, it's a hard decision. I don't have any kids either, and
all the young couples that just have dogs, they have so much fun with their lives. But hey, like I said, like people are taking their kids on vacations with them these days, so
I don't know, right, Maxwell? I couldn't live without a doggo.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I can't live without a dog. I have to have a dog but just getting a second one is the current issue that we're going through right now. And we've tried to have a second dog and it didn't work out. And that's when you just, you just learn from your experiences?
It didn't work out because it wasn't the right dog,
It wasn't the right dog.
but you watched Gidget for me,
That week was fantastic.
and you guys both loved her.
Both loved her, yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of getting the right dog to fit in your family.
Yes, because, we're the ones that live not here. We live in Toronto. So we're a little bit away from my dog family. My boyfriend's family was not a dog family. Diego was my boyfriend's first dog. And now he's like very attached and he can't live without Diego. And I get that. But it's true. Like, if we're going away and I'm not coming down to Niagara Falls to drop off dogs, we have 2 dogs now. Who's going to watch them? But his sister is moving in soon to the building.
It's very helpful.
So that will be someone we could drop off the dogs to, and vice versa, because she's got a shepherd and not everyone's going to be willing to watch a shepherd. So
No.
she has a sister-in-law who does.
Yeah, it's very helpful when you guys are in the same place. But I'm very fortunate that I have tons of people willing to watch my pets when I go away, because if I didn't, it would be a problem. But that's why for me, it's really not a problem to have multiple dogs, because I literally have a lineup of people begging me to watch the dog.
Yeah, and again, the small dogs, people are willing to watch those. The big dogs, it's more of an issue.
Yes.
So it's all based on what you're willing to put up with, and if you have a support system. Just like raising kids, they say it takes a village to raise kids. Well, raising puppies is not that much different. I think a little less expensive, but
Well, you can't put your kid in a crate when you leave the house.
that's true. That's true too.
So, anyways, okay. Well, that's it for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. The next episode, I am going to be interviewing another entrepreneur who is an interior designer, and she went through a unique experience in life that she's going to talk about. So I will see you again next week for another episode of Talk Your Tail Off.